Listen, Sammy.
The Ogdru Jahad are the main antagonists of the Hellboy comic series, and they also double down as terrifying supernatural beings who bring about the end of the world. While the right hand of doom destroyed them soon after the Earth's creation, they refused to be dismissed so easily, and they even spawned the Ogdru Hem to leave a legacy behind. Soon after, over 300 of these demonic children took the Ogdru Jahad's place as Hellboy's arch-rival, and today we shall be exploring the Ogdru Hem in great detail. Before we go into our explanation, we have a very small request. If you like our content, please support us by subscribing to our channel. This is a small click for you, but for us, it means a lot. Thank you. Let's begin. Who is Ogdru Jahad? Before we get into the Ogdru Hem, let us glance at Ogdru Jahad, or the Ogdru Jahad, that appeared as Hellboy's primary arch-nemesis in Mike Mignola's Hellboy comic run. It's revealed that the Ogdru Jahad were monstrous creatures from the Book of Revelation, and it was their destiny to bring about Ragnarok, or apocalypse on Earth. The Ogdru Jahad came into being soon after God created a bunch of spirits on a newly formed Earth to take care of the planet. One of the spirits, named Anum, used the fire from the air to conjure these creatures, while the other spirits came together to subdue them. However, the Ogdru Jahad managed to return to life despite all attempts to destroy them, and they even spawned the Ogdru Hem, who are essentially known as the first life forms planet. While the Ogdru Jahad were imprisoned by the right hand of doom, there were about 369 Ogdru Hem who continued to raise hell on Earth. The children of the Ogdru Jahad explored. While the Ogdru Hem were weaker versions of the Ogdru Jahad, they wielded immense power and had to be imprisoned by the Watchers. However, Grigory Rasputin and some other allies of the Ogdru Jahad plotted to free them, and they were soon free spirits who wandered around in outer space. Typically, most of the Ogdru Hem did not have any physical form, and they wandered around in an invisible to guide those Ogdru Hems who did not have physical body. Among the 369 children of the Ogdru Jahad, some are more well known than others, and can be identified by their physical form. For instance, Ogdru Hem is known to be some kind of a fungus, and further studies have established that he was created out of blood. It's unknown if the Ogdru Jahad created all of the Ogdru Hems out of the blood of other beings, and there's a whole lot of variation among their origins. While they have different characteristics, all of them are capable of mutating living beings, and they displayed this ability when they created the frog monsters that ushered in the third race of man. They've also generated other mutated creatures, such as flaming head beings, sea monsters, and mutated humans with insect-like property. They even turned humans into zombies in an extreme display of their ability. Aztec mythology. The Ogdru Hems have some basis in Aztec mythology, and James Henry O'Donnell has talked about how Mesoamerican god monsters, such as the Quetzalcoatl, were the true spirits of these creatures. There were elaborate blood rituals that enabled these creatures to take a human form, and they then traveled to Earth to educate human beings about the origins of the world. Over time, the Aztecs sought inspiration from this to inscribe on the 3 gold tablets. History of Ogdru Hem in Hellboy universe. While the Ogdru Hem are known as the first life forms on the planet, the Watchers that were appointed to protect Earth did not care much for them. In fact, they declared war against these species, and what followed was about 10,000 years of killing and brutal violence before they accepted the Ogdru Hem could not be defeated. Even when their physical bodies were utterly destroyed, their spirits lingered in the physical world, and the Watchers took drastic measures to imprison the surviving spirits beneath the earth. However, these monsters went to great lengths to free their spirits and return to the physical world by possessing other creatures and transforming their host bodies to keep their image. The Hyperboreans, or the first race of man, then used their powers to control the Ogdru Hem spirits, but the latter worshipped the black goddess Hecate and appealed to her black magic to walk freely on Earth again. While the Hyperboreans were afraid that the rise of the Ogdru Hem would result in the destruction of mankind, they trained several humans in the practices of vril to fend them off. However, the Ogdru Hem were ahead of their game, and they also used their powers to turn a bunch of humans into a vampire-like species known as the Cold People. The Hyperboreans managed to put an end to this menace, and they became legendary heroes who were worshipped and praised for several generations by the Mayans and the Aztec civilization. The rise of the Ogdru Hem, from Hellboy's early battles to Hell on Earth. In modern day, Hellboy had stumbled upon 2 Ogdru Hem spirits a little before the events of Cavendish Hall, but he was unaware of their existence at the time. He found one of these spirits in the French Abbey of Lannion in 1965, and then encountered another one in 1979, when an Ogdru Hem had hijacked the spiritual medium, Mr. Todd. Over time, Rasputin managed to awaken Ogdru Hem, but Liz Sherman stepped in to destroy it. There have been many instances of the Ogdru Hem appearing in the modern world, and Hernan von Klimt once summoned the Conqueror Worm and stirred up trouble for Hellboy, Roger, and Lobster Johnson. After dealing with this, Hellboy faced Ogdru Hem, killed it, and eventually revived it. Ogdru Hem had also started regenerating in the modern world, and many BRPD researchers came together to imprison him and also study his existence. However, many of their cultists came together to rescue him and proceeded to create several frog monsters that paved the way for the return of the Ogdru Hem. These frog monsters summoned large numbers of Ogdru Hem spirits, but only a few of them managed to manifest in physical form. Landis Pope then ended up fulfilling the frog prophecy and brought Katha Hem to life. His awakening was a sign that the world would start changing, and Liz Sherman stepped up to defeat him and restore the world. However, Landis Pope continued his mission and even went one step ahead to revive the Ogdru Hem instead of just awakening them. He had the King of Fear by his side, and Liz Sherman did her best to get rid of all of them, only for the Salton Sea Monster to emerge from the depths of the ocean and bring about the apocalypse. Liz had also used her powers to trigger earthquakes and shake the world up, and her explosions caused several sleeping Ogdru spirits to snap out of their slumber. They soon started reaching out to the physical world, and the Salton Sea Monster was the first among many such spirits to emerge and even lay eggs. Leopold Kurtz and Karl Ruprecht Kronian also did their part by summoning a brand new black flame, which awakened even more Ogdru Hem spirits across the world. Ogdru Jahad also made his way to Earth to spawn these creatures, but he was eventually murdered, and all the Ogdru Hem were frozen for a bit. While this allowed our heroes to take a sigh of relief, their success was only momentary, as Ragnarok was due in no time. After Yomiel died, and Varvara broke free from the demon's control, Varvara managed to revive Rasputin by empowering him with the essence of Ogdru Jahad. This series of events resulted in the revival of all the Ogdru Hem on Earth, including those who had been slain in the past. They made a stronger comeback than before, and immediately jumped onto their final goal of bringing about an apocalypse on Earth. Their actions compelled humanity to seek shelter in the Hollow Earth, while Hellboy and his allies stayed back to defeat Rasputin. They had a hard time fighting against all the Ogdru Hem, who had managed to establish themselves as the rulers of the planet. They spawned several horrifying species and unleashed them on Earth until a horrific explosion destroyed most of them. Over time, Hellboy's spirit found a special ally in the form of Hecate, and Elizabeth Sherman also joined hands with him to destroy the Ogdru Hem. Sherman even used the last of her powers to destroy these creatures, even at the cost of her life, and all remaining Ogdru Hem were destroyed for good. These creatures went extinct in the aftermath of Ragnarok, and even if any of them managed to exist in some form, we haven't stumbled upon them in a good while. Known Ogdru Hem and Hellboy lore explored. There have been several known Ogdru Hem among the 369 children, and they have all been inspired by several creatures in ancient mythology. One of them was Kipaktlin, who was inspired by Kipaktli and regularly worshipped by the Aztecs. Another iconic Ogdru Hem was Genu Hem, and it almost managed to revive itself during the events of Hell on Earth. Genu Hem also played a big role in defeating Abe Sapien, while Mera Hem appeared during the Abyss of Time story arc and was eventually defeated by Gal Denar's prehistoric tribe. Some of the Ogdru Hem were discovered after being trapped in the Mona egg, such as Istra Hem, and it was known for its ability to create frog monsters with its breath. Vukub Kakis was another famous Ogdru Hem spirit, and it was inspired by a bird demon in Mayan mythology. This spirit tried to end the world, but the Mayan twins stepped up to defeat it, thereby preventing the apocalypse. The Salton Sea Monster stirred up a whole lot of trouble after emerging from the depths of the ocean, and its appearance was a sign of the impending apocalypse. However, it was soon worshipped by human beings, and it had the ability to turn humans into monsters by releasing a special gas. Many Ogdru Hems were considered godlike, and the Quetzalcoatl and Zara Hem were some of them. While Quetzalcoatl was known as a Mesoamerican god, also known as the Aztec mummy, Zara Hem was worshipped by primitive human beings in Arizona. Other famous Ogdru Hems include Ergo Hem, who was trapped until the blood of a 16th century priest freed him from his fate and allowed him to take a physical form. The Conqueror Worm is another popular Ogdru Hem, and he was defeated by the Watchers quite early on. While his body was destroyed, the Conqueror Worm's spirit was trapped in outer space until the Nazis came across it and freed it in 1939. Besides these spirits, Yotha Hem, Katha Hem, and Sadhu Hem were also well-known children of the Ogdru Jahad. Creatures linked to the Ogdru Jahad, but not classified as Ogdru Hem. Many other monstrosities have been linked to the Ogdru Jahad, but have not been classified as one of the Ogdru Hem. One such creature is Samael, the Desolate One, who appears in the Hellboy movie. Samael was essentially a hellhound, and the audience assumed he was one of the Ogdru Hems, until Abe Sapien introduced him as the son of Nergal, one of the original 7 Ogdru Jahad. While Samael is the child of an Ogdru Jahad, he was not one of the 369 Ogdru Hems that were spawned at the same time, and he has more features in common with the frog-like creatures that appear in these storylines than with the Ogdru Hem. Another such creature was the Hydroid-like behemoth, who served as Rasputin's god. After Rasputin was killed off, the behemoth emerged from within his body, in the same way that Ogdru Hem emerged from the priest's blood, and many fans deduced that the behemoth was also one of the Ogdru Hem. Behemoth also grew to a gigantic size in a similar manner to Ogdru Hem, and he had the same temperament and appearance as Sadhu Hem. Thunder and lightning were evil Japanese storm demons who had been trapped within the Sword of Storms for the longest time. They appeared in Hellboy's Sword of Storm, and they're like brothers to the Ogdru Jahad. Marvelous verdict. And with that, we come to the end of this video that explores the demonic Ogdru Hem and all their attempts to thwart Hellboy and bring about the world's destruction. They've certainly stirred up a whole lot of chaos on Earth, and there's no doubt that they've made the Ogdru Jahad proud by maintaining their demonic legacy. We hope you enjoyed exploring their antics against Hellboy, and do share your thoughts in the comments below. And if you liked our content, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to us if you haven't already. Have a good one and be safe. Thanks everyone.